In the 1700s, spinning and weaving was very much a domestic affair, hardly what we'd call an industry by today's standards. It was carried out in small cottages such as these. Raw cotton was supplied by traders, and finished cloth was collected by them. The top floor had most natural light and was devoted to spinning and weaving. The family lived below, and in some larger cottages, pigs and other livestock may have lived in the basement. We can see how this might have looked at Helmshire Textile Museum, where they not only have many old spinning and weaving machines on display, but you can also see what life might have been like in one of these small cottages. Here we see the whole family engaged in spinning and weaving, although it would have been more usual for them to specialise in one or the other. The upper floor of the cottage would have been unable to accommodate any large machinery, even if it was available. Spinning wheels were powered by hand. Mum and older girls would have undertaken the more skillful tasks, but there was work too for the children in carding the raw cotton. Here Dad is involved too. He is at the loom weaving the cotton spun by his wife and children. He flicks the shuttle across the loom by hand, but the loom is also operated by foot as the shuttle reaches the end of its track. With little mechanisation, these are highly skilled members of society and at the peak of the working class of their day. Weaving had been speeded up in the mid-1700s with John Kay's Flying Shuttle. The Flying Shuttle was invented by John Kay in 1733. He wanted to speed up the production of widecloth, but his invention speeded up the weaving of cloths of all widths. Weavers could now flick the shuttle from one side of the loom to the other, instead of passing through by hand. They did not necessarily have to replace an existing loom. The Flying Shuttle could often be added to an existing one. Spinning remained the slowest process, and several spinners were required to satisfy one weaver. So, not surprisingly, it was spinning that occupied the inventor's mind next. There were several versions of James Hargreaves' solution to this problem. First, the spinning jenny, and later, a quarter of a century later, the spinning mule. This machine has been built using a drawing which shows the idea patented by James Hargreaves in 1775. He had invented the machine at least 15 years before he took out his patent. It is believed that his first spinning jenny only had 6 or 8 spindles. This machine, and the one shown in the 1775 patent, had 16 spindles. James Hargreaves wanted to help people spinning in their own homes. All these domestic spinning and weaving frames depended upon a simple wheel driving the mechanism, either a wheel driven by hand or by foot. However, there was no way that looms operated manually could compete with those powered by steam machines. Bolton Steam Museum houses a variety of steam machines, many of which would have been developed from those pioneering machines of the early 19th century. These would have been able to power not just one loom, but several dozen, and the looms themselves would have been wider, so producing wider cloth. Machines such as these enabled mill owners to develop James Hargreaves' design so that 120 spindles could be built. These were known as improved spinning jennies. This early power loom, made by Leach of Rochdale, dates from about 1855. The shuttle was flicked from one side of the loom to the other by power from overhead shafting, driven by a water wheel or steam engine. Although most of the mechanism of this loom was automated, the weaver still had to regularly alter the drive to the cloth roller at the front of the loom by hand. Domestic production went into sharp decline. Earnings of many hand-loom weavers fell sharply, whilst many others would have been put out of work. Tensions rose, and the Luddite movement was born. Their solution was to smash the machines which had put them out of business. With no police force to maintain law and order, the magistrates were persuaded to call in the militia to protect the mills and to arrest those thought to be responsible for causing damage.